Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Yes, it's me, April Love, here in Boston, wishing you a blessed time. Truly hope you're finding reasons to smile, laugh, enjoy life, appreciate everything and everyone around you. If you've followed me through social media, you know the reason I didn't come on last night is because one of my one of my fur babies, Gizmo, he was the one that was in the live stream last Friday night. Um, he suddenly passed away. Um, yeah, I'm gonna wait a minute to see if anybody comes in before I start explaining everything. But I want to thank you for coming in. If this is your first time, make sure you hit the like, the notification, the thumb bell, the thumbs up, and just leave some love in the comments. What's up, FIFA Nifa? And I forgot to do it before I started the stream, but when it's up, I'll add the link later. I did two things. I made a video in tribute to um, and I made a playlist and tried to find videos specifically that I knew the cats were in. I've been extremely quiet for the last 24 hours, so, and I thought I would be okay to come on live because I haven't been too emotional towards the last few hours. What kills me the most is he was perfectly fine when I left for work. When my brother texted me saying something's wrong with Gizmo, I thought it was just something like he was throwing up or lying down or something. I wasn't expecting to come home and see him sprawled out and unresponsive. And to those that watch me on a regular and have reached out, thank you. One of the first people I reached out to was my mother-in-law after I was leaving the vet. The thing is we rushed to the vet, but I think he was already gone before we even left the house. Originally, he was still warm. When I got home and I started trying to give him mouth to mouth, because I know you can give CPR to animals, I was trying. I was too shooken up to really tell if he had any pulse or breathing. Like I tried to listen and feel, but when you're in that state of mind, trying to get Tiffany. Hold on. And as I was trying to wrap him up and get him into the carrier, just by how limp he was, and I noticed that his side was wet, I had the sense that he was gone before we even left the house. And they didn't even have to take him out of the cage. All they did was open it up and put their hand on him, and it was like he's gone. He was perfectly fine before I left for work. I did what I do every night before I leave. I tossed the treats on the floor because they like to give them a chance to kind of use their hunting instincts to go after each treat. And even though Kirk said there was something wrong, I was still expecting when I got home for him to be at the door when I came home. If not right up at the door, at least like looking at me. I wasn't expecting to find him. Kirk was on the floor next to him. Hi, Manji. Yeah. Thank you. I thought I was going to be fine coming on. I thought it would be alright coming on because I was feeling okay momentarily. So, but since I'm already on, I might as well stay. I mean, I don't like to bring negativity to my streams or my videos, but you also know I like to stay transparent. And this is just part of it. It's small part of my life. You know how I said, as far as my artwork, how I'm not, my weaknesses are animals and, portraits. I tried to sketch a little bit last night when I was at work, and I started to get the symbolism of a cat, like almost the shape of a cat, but the thing, like, I can't. It's just not my forte. It's just what's missed the most is his specific I have 3 cats, and each one has their own specific traits and, what makes them unique. You know, if you read the description in the tribute video, you know, he had a little bit of anxiety or like a little bit of distrust. Like he wanted to be very affectionate, but he was also distrusting and getting too close. Even with me, I could hug him and I could hold him for a few seconds, but he wasn't like he wanted to cuddle, but he wasn't trusting enough to cuddle. So he would, he would go. I would let him go as far as he was comfortable with, and he would lie on my side sometimes. Thank you. But I called him if he was a dog, he would be a German Shepherd. He was the alpha of the 3 cats that I had, but he knew I was in charge. He kept his brother and my other cat, Shorty, in line. And out of the 3 of them, the only 2 that I didn't care if they fought was Gizmo and his brother Smokey, because they knew how to handle each other. And it was actually kind of funny to watch them body slam each other. And he, like Stephanie just said, Fifa said, he was the more sociable out of my 3 cats. He might run when you first come in, but eventually he comes out and he says hello to everybody. And when my aunts and uncles are at the house, he's part of the party. He wants to be where he can see everybody. He wants to say hello to everybody. Unless there's kids around, he's smart enough to stay away when there's kids around. But if it's just adults, he would come out and hang out. One of the last times my aunts and uncles were here, we had a stool out near the table where everybody was sitting, and he jumped on there and just hung out on the stool the whole time that everybody was there. And as far as me, he just needed to know where I was at all times. I could close my door to go to sleep, but they all knew what time I woke up. And, he would make sure he was near my door. And even if I went to the restroom, he'd had to stand outside the door. And no matter what door I was coming from, if he was where he couldn't get to me and I opened the door, we'd have a talking match. I always say that he was yelling at me, and for the last couple weeks, I was trying to get it on camera. I wanted to make a montage of, every time I came out of opened the door, he was there to start yelling at me. But every time I turned on the camera, he would stop. And in the playlist that I put together, there's a video that I have called, I think I called it Gizmo Takes Over the Vlog, because I had lost my voice, and it was the one rare time that he kept meowing, and I just kind of followed him with the camera and put captions every time he made a cry. I said I put, my mommy's voice is broken. He's like, hi, my name is Gizmo. My mommy's voice is broken, so I'm gonna do the video. And try to use the caption as he was talking to the camera. Hey Susie, how are you? Thank you for coming in. One of my favorite things with him was when he lied down. So, everyone is all right. I'm talking to Tiffany in Messenger, and she's not feeling well either. So um, she's not feeling well either. But she said hello. She's not feeling well enough to be in the stream tonight in the chat. Me and my husband still missing our dog, and it was so much pain for us because yeah. I mean, I had a cat. I had a cat before the three that I have now. I had a cat, Gizzy, who passed away probably a few months um, before I got the ones that I have now. She died of cancer, an aggressive cancer, and the other thing that bothers me with Gizmo is I couldn't afford to get an autopsy done, and they didn't check him at all because he was already passed when I got to the vet. So it's not like I don't think there was anything they could really check unless they did an autopsy or X-rays or something. But if his heart had stopped, I don't know how all that works. I'm not, I don't know medically how, that stuff works, but I don't know if it's because, but I read online, and I have a friend that, knows a lot about animals who said it was most likely congenital um, heart failure. Um, because I guess that's something that's somewhat common in cats. It's something that literally happens suddenly. And, as far as heart disease in cats, it's not always detected at a routine checkup. And, for the most part, they can live a normal life without you even knowing, and just suddenly, like this, they could be, you know, they could get a blood clot, or they could get something, their heart just stops. Something happens with their heart. And my friend that knows about animals and cats, she said the exact same thing had happened to her sister's cat. but it's been too damn quiet in my house. And even the two cats that I have left, the brother of Gizmo, Smokey, he likes to cry, you know, he likes to cry as well. He's a talker as well, and he's been a little. He's made some noise here and there, but he's been a little extra quiet the last couple days, or the last 24 hours. It's only been 24 hours, 40 almost. It'll be 2 days tomorrow. But so basically, yeah. I even tried to give him mouth to mouth. I tried to resuscitate him because when I got home, he was still warm. And but I had a feeling that he was gone because when I went to go move him, his the side he was lying on, the back side of him was wet, which, obviously he relieved himself. And I think that's definitely a sign of passing, that when the fluids, come out. By the time I got him to the, by the time we got in the car and was heading to the vet, I could feel the warmth of his body through the cage, but his head was cold. His upper body was colder. But the bottom part of his, I can feel the heat from his body coming through the carrier. Again, I came in, told them my cat's not breathing. They didn't even have to use a stethoscope. All they did was put their hand on him in the carrier at the counter, and it was like, well, he's passed on. He didn't say it like that, but they said, unfortunately, he did pass on. And I wanted to get the autopsy, but the woman at this desk said it would be over 500, and I really didn't have it. I did get the cremation, and that alone was $200. Guess on one side, the good part of not knowing what it was is that if it was something that could have been prevented, then it puts less guilt on me not knowing. But also not knowing bothers me just because, as I keep saying, he was perfectly fine 8 hours, 8, 9 hours before. Before I left for work, he was fine. There was no sign of anything. And I don't know if he had passed. Yeah, because they charge by the weight of the animal, which I didn't know that until they showed me the list. They're like, and it depends on if you want the ashes back or not. They showed me two different. They showed me two different price. They showed me two columns of prices, and they had a general cremation where you don't get the ashes back, which to me, I'm like, why would you cremate? I mean, unless that's just the way to dispose of an animal in general. I don't know if that's general practice of how to dispose of a deceased animal by automatically doing the cremation. But they're like, for the general cremation, you wouldn't get the ashes back, but it would cost like you know this much depending on the weight of the animal. And then they said the private cremation cost 180 or 100, yeah, 180 and some change. And this, and with this one, you get the ashes back. We send them to you. And I didn't go to his regular vet. I didn't go to his regular vet because I didn't know they were open yet. I went to the the big um, vet that has a 24-hour emergency um, office, um, which is like 45 minutes from my house. And so, and come to find out that my regular vet was open at 7 a.m., which I could have got to them. Not that it would have mattered, because, like I said, I think he was passed before I even left the house. But it would have only took me 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get to the regular vet. And it might have been a little cheaper, to get other things done. I don't know, because technically I didn't even have a visit, and they didn't charge me for an emergency visit, which I think my regular vet charges for emergency visits. Because I looked, because the one that the place I brought him to was the local ASPCA, the MASPCA. They have a 24-hour emergency, like I said, a 24-hour emergency um, wing to the facility. And I think they normally do charge for a visit, an emergency visit, but maybe because he was already deceased, they didn't. They don't. If they come in deceased, maybe they don't charge that, because they didn't. As far as I know, that wasn't part of the charge. All they charged me for was the cremation, and they did let me sit with him for a minute. Sit with him before I would leave. He's the only one of my three cats that would try to steal people's food. And to be honest with you, I was more concerned recently that that he was trying to get to food that he normally doesn't go for. The other day I made a salad, and normally that's not something they go for. None of my cats, including him. And down to the bottom of I emptied the bowl, but I didn't rinse it out yet. And just before I had left for work, that night that I made the salad, he vomited, which that's normal for cats. They have random moments of they eat something they're not supposed to, or their stomach gets a little upset, and you get a little fur ball, or whatever. Well, this one had pieces of greens and pieces of feta cheese. So, like, obviously, whatever he got from the bowl didn't last long in his stomach. And I'm like, he's gonna get into something he's not supposed to. Because I found out from when my other cat was sick, the one that I had over 10 years ago, when she got sick, I found out that things like garlic and onion are actually toxic to cats. It could shut down their organs and whatnot, but I don't think that was the case in this. I don't think that was the case. And when my brother, one of my, both me and one of my youngest brother, we both work the night shift, and he had got home just before he got home first, and he's the one who originally found him. And I asked him, I said, was he breathing at all or anything when you got in? He's like, he looked like he was faintly breathing and had a faint pulse, but it was very slow and very, it wasn't, so I'm guessing by the time I got home, that's when and that's one of the reasons why I started giving him mouth to mouth. I said, if there's any chance that he might still be, and I was afraid if I was doing it right or wrong, or because I know that you can, but I didn't know if I was doing it properly. And I know with animals you're supposed to breathe through the nostrils and pump them on the side, instead of like what you would do with a human, which is the mid, in the middle of the breastbone. I know with animals because I've watched too many animal rescue shows. I was trying to train him to give a high five. All three of my cats are trained to sit and go on their hind legs, and they're all trained to use the toilet, although they don't always use the human toilet. They do whatever they want sometimes, but they've all been trained to use the human toilet. They've all been trained to sit. And they've all been trained to get on their hind legs. And I was trying to teach him how to do high five, because I thought, out of all three of my cats, because he was so, he was food motivated, so I figured I could try to teach him. And sometimes he would do it, sometimes he wouldn't. Of course, he was just more interested in getting the treat than anything. And on one side, I'm kind of hoping that he was passed before we left the house or before anyone found him, because my other two cats hopefully got a chance. They would have sensed it and knew that he had passed. And I'm sure they knew something was wrong when we were trying to when my brother found him. My brother said he found the other two sitting next to each other, and then Gizmo's brother, Smokey, my gray cat, started pacing, but he paces anyway. He's a nervous cat anyway. He paces the house a lot. We joke about him making laps around the coffee table because he'll literally do laps. He won't just sit still for you to pet him. He'll stop, let you pet him, go around, come back, get petted, walk around, come back, get petted. And even when I'm lying on the couch, he'll come up, lie down for 5 seconds, get petted, get up, leave, come back 5 minutes later, get petted, leave, come back, sit down, get petted. Gizmo, just like the stream I did at my house Friday night, the one that I called, thanks to, I wasn't gonna come on, but Foodie, but thanks to Foodie, I'm here, or something like that. I don't remember the title. Gizmo was sitting next to me on the couch, lying, sleeping next to me on the couch. My favorite thing, one of my favorite things of him is when he used to lie on his back and have his paws up. He looked like a beach sail. If you put his ears back, he looked like a sail getting a suntan, sitting in the sun. And the only reason why I think at least his brother realizes he's gone is because the last couple of times, my cats, they sleep in random spots throughout the house and even on my bed. But for the most part, they all kind of have their go-to spots on my bed or, in other places of the house. And his brother, the last couple of days, since I came home without his brother, he's been sitting in that particular spot on my bed that his brother usually took. And he was the one that showed concern when he thought somebody was in trouble. An example is there's plenty of videos on YouTube throughout social media where they show kittens crying. Whether it's because they're crying for food or because they're just crying or whatever their reason is. There's one particular video that's on YouTube where there's a kitten, can't be more than maybe 6 weeks old, crying and screaming, crying up a storm because he was hungry. Every time I played that video, Gizmo and Smokey would come out and search around the computer screen or wherever I was sitting looking for the kitten. All three of my cats would come out, but they would frantically come out. Like, where is it? Where's the baby? Where's the crying? Where's the crying coming from? And then Gizmo would start crying, like, out of concern on, I can't find, he can't find it. He's looking for it and stuff. And I don't have like a specific video showing that, but I do have videos in the past, and I wish I could remember the name of it. I'm sure I have it in more than one video, but I have at least one or two videos where I got that on camera of them coming out looking for. You would hear the crying kitten, and then you would see my cats come out looking for the wherever that cry was coming from. And the same thing at home. If his brother, every now and again, his brother Smokey would let out these cries like you thought he was being hurt or killed or something, and he was just making his loud, obnoxious cry. There was not, because everybody, us and the other cats would come running up over to him, going, "What happened? What is it?" He'd just look at us like, "What? What's going on?" And Manji, the gray cat that I have, Smokey, which was Gizmo's blood brother, like, I got them together. They came from the same mother, or from the same litter. Smokey's the one that, he's the more mischievous one. He's the one that likes to sneak into rooms, get into places he's not supposed to. He's the one, like I just said, he'll let out these cries like he's being hurt, or like something, like something bad's happening, and then you go run to go find out what's going on, and he's just like, "What? There's nothing. Nothing happening here." And then, just walk away and just look at you like, "I didn't do anything. I don't know what you're talking about." But even his brother would get up and, run. Like, "What's going on? What happened?" And Gizmo was like a dog in the sense that, when you could be chill, the dog can be completely lying down, not doing nothing. But as soon as you start looking at them and going, "Hey, how are you? How are you?" They get excited, and they're getting up, and they want you to, even if they don't get up and wag their tail, they're lying down and they're looking at you like, "You're gonna pet me. You're coming to me. I know you're gonna do it. You're coming. Come lie down with me. Come say hello. Come give me hugs. Give me kisses. Whatever. Come pet my head." He would get like that. Gizmo would get like that. He would like start rolling around, put his paws out, start kneading the ear, kneading the ear. Like he would get overexcited at the fact that he knew you were about to come closer to him. The funny thing is, as much as he wanted the affection, he had an issue with you being too close. So even if he put his face up to get a kiss on the nose, as soon as you came in to try to give him the kiss, he would back up like, "Wait, no, don't come, no, don't do it." He wouldn't bat you away. He would just be like, "I don't know what you're doing." And like, you put your face out for a kiss. That's what I'm doing. Or he would come up next to me like, you would think he wanted a hug. And then you go to hug him and put your arm around him. He's like, "Ooh, wait, no. He'd try to worm his way out of it. I could get him, if I did it slow enough and relaxed enough, I can hug him for a minute before he would try to, like, wiggle out of it. The same with, picking him up. He didn't like he was too nervous to be held and picked up. But if I picked him up the right way, I would last about 10 seconds before he was like, "Okay, I gotta go. Put me down. And every now and again, I could get him to lie on my lap or lie on my side when I'm on the, lying down or whatever. But he didn't, I couldn't put a blanket over him. I couldn't have him, you know, he didn't, out of my three cats, only one of my cats, my black and white one, Shorty, my tuxedo cat, he's the only one that like I can put a blanket over, and he wants to like be right up next to my side. He wants to feel your body heat. He wants to, he's the closest one that I can get to cuddle. He won't cuddle like under my arm or anything, but he'll cuddle up near my back or my stomach. Where Gizmo and Smokey, they're not very trusting to be picked up. They don't feel comfortable, in tight quarters. So, like I said, if I leave them alone and I'm lying on my side, they'll come up and lie on my, come stand or sit on my side or lie down on my side if they can see that it's hurting me. Um, and, you know, with Gizmo, every now and again I could get him to lie down on my lap because I could tell that he wanted it. Like you can tell by his body language that he wanted it, but he, for as long as I've had him, he was just untrusting to be able to let himself feel comfortable enough to just relax next to me and cuddle or stay on my lap. He would last for a little while, but not for long. And if he wanted to stay with me while I was sleeping, he would rather be at my feet or like on the corner of the bed, just to be near me. And that's why I kind of call him the German Shepherd. If he was a dog, he would be a German Shepherd because he had more of a protective way about him. He wanted the acknowledgement, he wanted the love, but he was also like, I'm gonna sit at the corner and make sure, and keep a lookout and make sure, just be near you so I know you're okay. And he's kind of, and I know German Shepherds are known to be that, they're very loyal to their owners, to their humans. They could be good around other animals and kids, but they have a natural protective alpha type mentality, and Gizmo was like that. Gizmo kind of he was the alpha of the three cats. He was the alpha of the three cats. The other two would, wrestle or fight or whatever, and he would watch and eventually step in. But at the end of the day, they all knew that I was the one in charge. And Gizmo was good about listening. If I told him no, he wouldn't do anything. His brother, on the other hand, is a typical stubborn cat. I say no, or I call the name, or I tell him to come. He's like, yeah, I'll come when I want to come. Gizmo, on the other hand, if I called him, he's like, okay, I'm here. What's up? What's going on? What are we doing? My other cat's Shorty. He's not necessarily stubborn. He's more slow. I'll call him and I'll call him. If he's stubborn when he's sleeping. If he's lying down and he's comfortable and he's relaxed and he just wants to sleep, he's like, I'm not coming to you. I'll come when I'm awake. Even if it's food, like he might hear the food and he'll look up. He goes, do I really want to get up and check it out? And if I have treats, I used to, if I'm not work, I usually save their treats for the end of the night before I'm about to leave for work, as their like little, late night snack. And I would like fling a handful out so they would have to chase it and find wherever, the pieces had fallen. And, Gizmo and Smokey, they loved the treats. So and Gizmo loved food anyway. He's the only, like I said, he was the only one out of my three cats that, begged and like tried to get your food. He likes turkey. He wants any meat that you happen to have. He thought he liked eggs, and he'd take a piece of egg and eat it, and then come back for another piece of egg. Like he's the one that we had to watch with scrap, leftovers on the counter, or even our, we make a tuna sandwich or something. We'd have to hide, cover it or push him away or something. And he's the only one we had to do that with. We could give the other two pieces of turkey or whatever, but they could take it or leave it. Like if you give it to them and Gizmo didn't get to it, they would go, okay, I'll eat it. All right, maybe. And there's some stuff that they just don't like. Like you know, I'll put down like a piece of burger from a cheeseburger or something. They look at it and go, nah, I don't want it, and walk away. Gizmo, on the other hand, would, like grab my hand and go, what are you eating? Give me some. And I had to constantly push him away. He had to know exactly what we were all eating. Exactly. But it's just too quiet in my house now. I started making the tribute video last night when I was at work. And then when I got home this morning and I parked my car, I started working on it a little bit more because I didn't want to go in the house because I knew he wasn't going to be there to greet me. Because he's usually the first one to greet me in the morning. All three of them are at the door when I get home, but he's usually right at the door. As I crack the door, he's already putting his head out like, hey, how are you? The other two step back and just, look out. Because they're not outdoor cats. They stay in, I live in an apartment, so they stay in. They're house cats. So, every now and again they might look out in the hall and step out, but for the most part, they don't, they're not a lot out of the house. They don't really try to get out of the house. When they were younger, my black and white one, my tuxedo, he kept trying to escape for a little while, but one day he got locked out of the apartment. We didn't know he got out, and we heard him frantically scratching at the door. And ever since then, he does, he might go out once in a blue moon just to look around, but if he hears noises, he'll run right back to the door. And it felt so weird feeding my other two cats this morning and only having to put down 2 bowls. It's just strange just to see 2 bowls on the floor now. Not that I want him gone or whatever, but I really hope that if it was a sudden heart attack or heart failure or whatever. I'm really hoping that was. She says she's just dealing with a lot of stuff right now. She didn't get into detail, and even if she did, I obviously wouldn't say it because it's not my place. But she's not in a good place right now. But I told her I would tell whoever was in my chat that I would say hello. Me too. I mean, like I said, my brother said he believes that he was faintly breathing when my brother got home. So I don't know how, I don't know how, how long before my brother came home that it started to happen. And if my brother had told me that he would, because all my brother texted me was something's wrong with the cat. He didn't say that he's not breathing, or he's not moving. He just says something's wrong. And I texted him and I said, I'm on my way home now. Because I was literally on my way home when he texted me. If he had told me he's having trouble breathing or whatever, I would have told him look up, how to give CPR to a cat. But I don't know, my brother, I don't think was too sure about what was going on, so, I can't blame him for anything. Or I can't get mad at anything. Even my mother's been sobbing off and on. Every now, even last night when I left for work, because I didn't stream last night. When I left, my mother was looking out the window and she just started sobbing. She's got other stuff going on with her own health and she's got her own stuff going on right now, but this on top of everything she's got going on, she just looked out the window. She was actually looking for the moon. And she finds comfort in looking at, finding the moon. And she just started sobbing and praying to God. And I heard her doing that just before I left for work last night. And every now and again, I think at least once today, I heard her in her room sobbing. I wish I could cuddle more with the two cats that I have. But again, Smokey's not a cuddler. I'm lucky if I can get him under my arm, let alone. I'm lucky that he allows anyone to pet him, let alone cuddle with him. I mean, he has been coming up on my chest a lot, but if I tried to put my arms around him, he wouldn't let that happen. And my other cat, Smokey, Shorty, he'll let me hold him for a little bit. But, neither one of them are, like, overly affectionate. They're not, like, they don't really give kisses. Smokey on it every now and again, but, he's definitely not on command. And Shorty, I don't think he knows what a kiss is, or, like, I don't know if he understands. Let's put it this way. The two other, Gizmo and Smokey, they need, they'll go on a pillow and they'll start kneading the pillow. Shorty originally never did that, and then eventually he started doing it. The other two do it with like they know what they're doing. They're trying to relax, and they sometimes got aroused while they did this, because they're all three of my cats are male. So like Gizmo and Smokey would get. I can tell that they were kind of getting aroused. And Shorty, he would do it, and when he starts to need, he just looks extremely awkward. He doesn't know why it feels good, but he does it anyway. And he's like, okay, I think I'm doing this right. I'm not sure. It feels good. I don't know why it feels good, but it does. And it's relaxing me. I don't know why it's relaxing me. And he'll slowly start to lie down. The other two, sometimes they would lie down. Sometimes I could tell that they were getting aroused. Don't tell me how I know. I'm not going to get into specifics. But, like, I would have to, like, tap them or whatever. Okay, no, lie down or do something. Don't do that. And they were all fixed. So, they are all fixed, I should say. But I miss him. I don't know what's worse. When it suddenly happens, or when you're told they have a terminal whatever, or they have an untreatable whatever. And so, not that one is better than the other, but I've as of now have experienced both sides of that. Because on one side, if you know that the inevitable is on its way, you can somewhat prepare yourself for it, but then you watch your pet get weaker and suffer until you feel that it's time to let them go. If they don't, and that's what happened with my other cat. It got to the point where she would go to her bowl, couldn't eat. If she wanted to, she would go up to the bowl as if she was going to eat, and just couldn't get herself to eat. And she got weak to the point that she couldn't jump up on anything. And one day she came into the restroom, and what her normal habit would be is to jump up on the sink. And she tried to make the jump, and she didn't make it halfway up. She tried and slid right back down onto the floor. And I brought her, and, you know, I could tell she was having more and more trouble breathing, and they were like, the fluid got, fluid is in her lungs now. And as much as I didn't want to, I had her put to sleep, and I was there with her. And with him, I don't know when it started, and it makes me sad to think that if he was suffering at all, that there was nobody there to comfort him, and no one to try to help him. Even if there was nothing that we could actually do, there was no one there to try or help until it was too late. My other brother was sleeping on the couch, and he said he didn't hear anything. And she was behind, she wasn't that far from him underneath the kitchen table or the dining room table. He was sleeping on the couch, which is not too far from where, he would have been. He was on the couch. My brother was sleeping on the couch all night, and he said he didn't hear anything out of the, especially nothing out of the ordinary. All right, Manji, if that's still you in the chat, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. It really means a lot. Thank you for listening. And for anybody else that comes in and actually listens throughout this whole thing, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you haven't already, go check out the tribute video I did for my cat. And I've put a playlist with a couple of videos of, either cat-specific videos of my pets, or videos where like there's at least a clip from them. A couple of the videos are from two other channels that I used to post on, but I haven't posted on them for years. I want to be able to transfer those videos directly to to this channel, but right now I'm not able to do that. Because I don't have the original videos. Even for the tribute video that I made, I had to download them temporarily, a couple of videos temporarily, just so I could get the clips that I wanted. But yeah, I made a cat-specific video playlist, and in the tribute video as well. Hey Jen, how are you? Thank you for coming in. The other thing, and I showed it briefly in the video of him because I didn't have a lot of footage of this because it was hard to catch him when he was doing it, is two things. One, he had three things really. Two are almost the same thing. He had an obsession with my socks and underwear. All right. He had this habit because I ball up my socks and put them in my drawer, and I leave my sock drawer open. He takes out my socks, walks around with them in his mouth. He does this with his toy too. The ball. Like the fishing pole thing they have for cats with the ball at the end. He like I have one that they didn't break completely. It's partially broken, but I've bought those a couple of times over the years, and he likes to drag it around the house. I think he thinks it's a mouse. He thought it was a mouse, or like he caught like actual prey or whatever, and he would walk around the house with it. And he did the same thing with my socks. The thing is, he never brought them all the way over to me. If it was my socks, and I always knew when he was doing it, because I've noticed with cats, when they have prey in their mouth, like if they have a mouse or a bird in their mouth, they give out this deep throat cry. Like I don't know if that's their way of going, I got it, I got something. But he would let out this, and I'm like, and I kind of got used to that. I've learned that from other cats that I've had around me, that they would let this deep throat cry out when they would have something of prey in their mouth. And he would do that with the toy when he dragged the toy around. He would do that with the socks. But the thing is you would think that he would bring it all the way over to me, and that was one of the other things I wanted to train him to do, was like bring the sock over to me. I wanted to start teaching him how to play fetch, because I know you could teach cats how to play fetch with like little balls, and I'm like, he likes to drag my socks around, I might as well make a game out of it. But what he would do is he would come out, and I would hear the deep throat cry. I knew he would have the sock or whatever in his mouth. He would drop it halfway from my room and the couch. And as soon as I acknowledged him, he would drop it and come over to me. And I'm like, no, bring the mouse. Bring it with you. So I could throw it and you could go grab it again. But he would never do it. He would come out and he would do that when nobody was paying attention too, because there'd be countless times where I would come home and there would be a pair of socks in the middle of the floor. Like if I didn't close my bedroom door, I would find a pair of socks in the middle of the floor, and I would kick them back in the room, and then if I went out again and came back, they would be out in the middle of the floor again. And sometimes the toy, the only thing that ever made it like onto a couch or the bed was the toy. Like I would find the toy on the edge of my bed or on the edge of the couch randomly. I'm like, he must have been dragging it around the house. And I broke the video up. I have a full video of that, and I think that I put it in the playlist. I did put it in the playlist, but I also used it for the tribute video, and I broke it up just to kind of break up. I didn't want it just to be a photo montage. I kind of wanted the tribute video to be specific videos of him, video clips of him, and photos. Like I didn't want it to be a generic photo montage. Because I know people, get tired of the photo montages, so I wanted to make it more interesting. And I have a video from years ago. If you find the original video, you'll know the date of the. you'll see the date of the original. I think the original was from like 2012 or 11 or something, where he played with the toy, he left the room, and came right back a few minutes later. I obviously for the video I shortened it, but he took the toy, dragged it out of the room. About 5 minutes later, he came right back with it. So he had like this and then the other thing was the part with my underwear. And I started the video. It was a poor video because, again, it was something that was very hard to get a clip of. Um, because of the angle that I had to be in, and at the time that the time that I finally was able to catch him doing this, I had a crappy camera, so the quality wasn't good at all. But I happened to be on my bed and I can see what he was doing. I realized what he would do is my sock drawer and my underwear drawer, same drawer, probably the same for a lot of people. He would, what's up, Foodie? Thank you, I appreciate it. But what he would do is, and he was a big boy. He wasn't a small cat. He was a big cat. He wasn't fat. He was just a thick, big tabby. All right, and I guess that's a typical tabby thing. He was a big tat. He was my big. I called him my big boy because out of the three cats, he was the biggest, or appeared to be the biggest. But somehow he managed to squeeze his big butt behind my drawer, and from behind. That's the funny thing. My socks he would drag anywhere around the house. My underwear he would sneak behind the drawer, and if you managed to catch him when he was doing this, you could see him kind of like shopping. Like you'd see him kind of poke his nose over the drawer and just kind of look, and all of a sudden you see the paw come out. He pull a pair of underwear and put it behind the drawer. I don't know for how long he did that, but I never bothered to pull out the drawer. And one day I did. I pulled it out. I was like, I don't know how much is back there. I don't know what's back there. I'm afraid to find out. And one day, because I was cleaning my room and I was trying to really do a thorough or reorganization or whatever, I pulled the drawer out, and he basically had a nest of underwear. I think he even had a couple of under tank tops. The ones you see me wearing all the time. I think there was at least one or two of those back there. But my underwear, he liked to pull behind the drawer. My socks ended up everywhere from under my bed to in the middle of the living room to on my bed. And he's the only one that did that. So I guess on one good, it's gonna be a sad thing, but a good thing that I don't have to worry about anybody else. I won't have to worry about my socks going missing anymore or ending up in the middle of the floor. No, but there's a lot of traits. There's a lot of things specific to him. And Manji already heard it a couple of times, but he was my German Shepherd. If he was a dog, he would have been my German Shepherd. If he was a dog, he just had that loyalty and that protectiveness of a German Shepherd. I think because of his bigness, being the biggest of the three cats, and being the alpha of the three cats, he just, I don't know why. Like, I looked at my three cats one day. I was like, if they were dogs, what kind of dogs would they be? And for whatever reason, I just kept seeing him as a German Shepherd. My black and white cat, Shorty, my tuxedo cat, I see as a sheepdog. And my gray cat, Gizmo's brother, Smokey. I still haven't really come up with a dog for him. A dog trait. I want to say poodle. Don't ask me why. I don't know. I just like, maybe because he's a little bit more like, well, he's the more mischievous one. Or like, I think because he's the thinnest of the three. And poodles are like, skinnier dogs. Like if you looked at you can see in the pictures. You see Gizmo and you see the gray cat right next to him, and you can see the weight difference. The size, as far as thickness or whatever, you can see the size difference. The vets used to think that Smokey was being bullied away from his food. I go, no, he's just a finicky cat. He's just not, he's not food driven. Gizmo was food driven. Smokey was not. When it came to eating their food, the wet food, they all ate their food. When it came, like, because the way I feed my cats is I give them wet food in the morning, and then I give them dry food in the afternoon. Because with the dry food, they don't eat it all at once. The wet food, they'll suck that down. They'll eat all of that within the first 20 minutes of me putting it down. They might eat a chunk of it, leave, and come back and eat a little bit more, but it's usually gone within the first 20 minutes to an hour, depending on how they're feeling or whatever. But when and then I would give them dry food, because with the dry food, they'd take a couple bites, and they would graze with the dry food throughout the day and throughout the evening. So they would still have food up until sometimes until the morning, depending if they were in the mood to eat it or not. And usually when I would first put it out, Gizmo and Shorty, my black and white one, Shorty loves the dry food. Gizmo will eat anything, so they would be the first two to eat. Smokey, the gray one, would go to the dry food, look at it, go, I don't really want it, and leave. He would eventually come back and start eating it, but he didn't care for the dry food. He doesn't care for the dry food. So, he'll eat it because it's there and because he's hungry, but, he could care less about it. I'm praying that he didn't suffer. I pray that if it was his heart, that it was fast. And I know I can't beat myself up about it, but it really bothers me that I couldn't find, especially because I do have two other cats. You know, I feel like I should have just maxed out my credit card because I was already to the max on my credit card anyway. But I feel like I should have maxed out my card to get the autopsy to make sure of what happened. But I tried to look online on what would cause sudden death in a cat. And the first thing that came up was congenital, um, congenital or congenitive heart disease or heart failure. And the little bit that I didn't do like thorough research, but the little bit that I read said that it's common. You know, usually the most common reason for a sudden death in a cat is an underlying heart disease or heart failure, and it's something that even the most even the most healthiest appearing cat could have it, because even in a regular checkup it's not something that would show up right up show up in a basic checkup unless you were looking for something. If and they said there's usually no signs. They were indoor cats. They weren't. I live in an apartment. I live in an old school building apartment, so they weren't allowed to go out. And the three cats, they would have their normal cat fights here and there, but nothing to the point where there were any like open wounds or the most injury that I found on any of my cats. And I would check their undercarriage periodically, and feel around their body, because the cat that I had previously to these three, the cat that I had previously to this three, the reason I was even able to find out that she had breast cancer was because, and I don't know if it's where it originally started, but at one point she had a small lump up near her armpit that originally the doctor said it's nothing. But then, a while back later, one of her bottom teats near the bottom of her body was getting enlarged. And when they tested it, it was an aggressive breast cancer. And she didn't last more than maybe another 4 months after, a couple months after that, um, after they diagnosed her. Um, you know, and with him, like I said, with that, because of what happened with her, I made it a point, even when they were comfortable with it, because most cats don't like you touching their belly or anything underneath their body. I would make it, especially when they were lying down and relaxed, I would make it a point to feel under their arms and their body and, down below, and I would check behind their tail every now and again just to make sure I didn't see anything out of the ordinary or feel anything out of the ordinary. And the only injury that I ever found on any of my cats, you know, was in the last couple months. Shorty had like a scratch underneath his chin that kept reappearing, and I took that as you know that they started fighting a little more aggressively than usual. The thing is, here's the funny part about my cats. All right, Gizmo was the alpha, so the other two, I don't know if they were always. Cats fight anyway. If you have multiple pets, cats, dogs, whatever, a mix of animals, and at some point they're gonna have some kind of confrontation. Even if it's whether it's major or minor, whether it's in play or whatever, they're eventually gonna get on each other's nerves, or look one's gonna look at the other one the wrong way or whatever, or the other one's just gonna be a jerk and push the other one's buttons or whatever. And Smokey and Shorty, my tuxedo and my gray, would Shorty would mess with Smokey, and Gizmo would kind of watch and eventually jump in and go after Shorty. The thing is when he go after Shorty, he would let Shorty know who was in charge, and I caught him one time like digging his paws into Shorty, like and Shorty would find get put himself in a place that he didn't necessarily fit to get away from Gizmo. And that would happen once in a blue moon. And usually, if I'm around or if anybody's in the house, and Shorty's not a crier. My black and white cat doesn't cry. If he cries, it's like it's such a in the once in a blue moon situation that when he does, you're like, did he just cry? Did he? Did you say so? And he has a kitten cry, so it's very distinct and it's very like you have to look because you're like, wait, was that you? Gizmo and Smokey, they talked all the time, and they sound relatively the same. Every now and again, Gizmo was a little bit more raspy, but for the most part, they sounded alike. But Shorty was like, nothing's coming out of his mouth. If it does, it's like, it's a shock when you have to do a double take when he actually makes a noise. And the only other time he would make a noise is if he was getting his butt kicked by one of the other cats. And usually I can let out a big, loud hey, and I've done that on streams. So Tiffany and maybe Nicole, but there's a couple of streams in the past like 6 to 8 months. I did that, yeah. In the last 6 to 8 months, there's a couple of um, streams where I let out that big hey because the cats are starting to fight, and that usually stops them and breaks them up. But the only injury that I've ever found on any of them was that little scratch underneath Shorty's chin. So with Gizmo, I don't know. I keep my checking his brother to make sure he's okay. I think because there's still two of them that they're okay. they're not necessary. As far as I know, they're not really comforting each other. But I think that because there's still another cat in the house, it's enough of a distraction. But I think Smokey is. If they don't, if I'm sure by now they're figuring out that he's gone. Maybe they don't know that he's passed. I'm hoping that if he passed at home, that they know, because I know animals can feel that, and animals are good on I know animals can sense you know that energy. You know, I know dogs especially can sense that. I remember watching. You guys watch Pitbulls and Parolees. I don't have Animal Planet anymore, so I can't watch any of those animal shows. But I know there's been a couple times on that particular show. All right, thank you. Have a good one. Appreciate you stopping in. I lost my train of thought. Oh, and Pitbulls and Parolees. There's been a few times on that show where, an animal had passed or whatever. I think there was one specific episode that I remember watching where they had the ashes of. I don't know if they had the ashes of the dog or they went to go bury the dog up in the hill, and all of a sudden all the other dogs in the kennels started howling. And I don't know if Shorty has really checked it out yet, but I know Smokey, Gizmo's brother, I know he's gone up to the carrier, because I purposely left it out on the floor so they could sniff it, and maybe get the sense of, if there was anything to sniff out. I wanted them to be able to sniff it and realize, to understand that, that that he had passed on. And Smokey's checked the carrier at least once or twice since I brought it back home. And thank you everyone for your love and support. It really means a lot. And I know time, timing always sucks when, someone passes. It doesn't matter when it's happened or even if you have a chance to prepare for it. But he passed on the 20th, and my wedding anniversary is the 21st. So the very next day, and what makes my wedding anniversary bittersweet is if you've watched me for a while or if you know anything about my backstory, is I was married in 2012 to a man that lives in Morocco. And because of immigration being what it is, we had issues with our first case. They believed that we had a false marriage. And because I don't make a lot of money and it's hard to find work in Morocco, he wasn't working. He's still not working after 7 years because he can't find anything. Not that he hasn't tried. But I haven't seen my husband in 4 years. I've spent a total of 2 months with him. I've only been able to visit 3 times. Because of money issues and because we can't afford to get legal help to really work on, to have the best chance of bringing him here. So, and he's dealt with a lot of, I've had my own depression, but he's had severe depression. On top of not being able to be together, him having issues there, just with, finding work and being able to not have to rely on other people to survive. He's, now the 20th will be the passing of Gizmo. The 21st is my wedding anniversary. I mean, the one thing I can say about my husband and I is individually and collectively we've definitely endured a lot, especially mentally and emotionally. But I hold on to the pride in the blessing that our faith is strong. We've had some really rough patches over the last couple of years. But I believe that our faith and our love is what keeps us from completely giving up. I know I'm kind of switching topics, but anyway, I think I'm gonna end it. I probably should actually do my job for a little while. Um, I want to thank you all for hanging out, coming in. Manji, thank you for staying as long as you have. It really means a lot. And to anybody else, once again, if you make it this far into the stream after it's been posted, I appreciate you so much. I thank you for your love and support, especially during this rough patch. This week has been very trying for multiple reasons. The last weekend started very rough and ending very rough. But, you guys helped to make it a little easier. And I truly mean that you guys make it a lot easier. And I appreciate you so much for listening and reaching out and showing love and support. And with that, I'm just gonna let it go. Gizmo, I love you. May you be in peace. I want your energy around me, and I love you. Like, love, share, and inspire. Don't forget, love is everything. Till next time. Much love. Thank you.